We are now going to talk briefly about Christian vocation, and this begins on page uh, 1078, 1079. But the authors note that the God who calls people to faith and salvation through the gospel also calls them to service. So faith is active, right, in this sense. It's passive, and we'll talk about this in a bit in terms of how we receive it, but it's active in the sense that you're called to service. So the Christian life is a life of devotion both to God and to other human beings and takes the form of loving service in the midst of daily life. So he calls Christians individually not to try to do everything that needs to be done, but rather to serve him and others primarily in the several relational contexts in which he has placed them. Now, to understand this, we have to understand that a person is both an individual and a member of a community at the same time. So you as an individual have particular gifts and skills that the person living next to you does not have, that your neighbor does not have. But in the context of your life together, you have an opportunity to serve your neighbor, your community, through the relational context of life together. So many of our activities have a communal component. It's almost difficult to articulate them all. Think of the amount of people involved in simply filling up a car with fuel, right? But in a more kind of personal way, you have relationships, whether it's brother, sister, neighbor, coworker, husband, wife, just all of these different vocations where you can serve. So it's individually you're called, but you get to do it relationally in the community. Now, this is back on page 1079. This was one of Martin Luther's important insights into the Christian life. Christian efforts to carry out God's will are to be focused initially, but not exclusively, on those people with whom he has connected them in the family, the church, and the community in the world at work. To do something significant for him and for others, Christians do not have to step out of these relationships and go somewhere else. Rather, they are to attend to those people with whom they live and work and serve God by serving them in very ordinary ways. If done in faith and love, the activities of the domestic or the builder are as significant and pleasing to God as the service of the priest at the altar or the head of a country.